Spurge here, and in this video we're going to break down the new Alpinestars Tech Air 7X airbag. So I just got back from COTA. We got to see Alpinestars launch this live on Thursday night, and this is going to be the newest iteration of their airbag technology. So if you're thinking about this, maybe you just watched the Tech Air off-road video that we did. This is carrying over a lot of that technology into a race airbag. So this is going to be technically the update for what was the original Tech Air race. In the current lineup, the Tech Air 7X is going to sit above something like the Tech Air 5, but not quite as much coverage as something like the Tech Air 10. That being said, the fact that this is coming in around the $1,000 price point, and it's getting the dual cartridge setup like we saw on the Tech Air off-road, and those cartridges are replaceable by you, the rider. I think this is really going to be something that's going to be appealing to a lot of people, even over something like the Tech Air 10. Now, what you're not getting is you're not getting the coverage down around the hips. That's where the Tech Air 10 does set itself apart. And for those of you out there that are really just riding on the street, you're not going to do a track day, the Tech Air 5 is still probably going to be the better option for you when we talk about comfort. But it is still something to consider, because the biggest difference with the Tech Air 7X over what we saw with the Tech Air race is that this can be worn as a standalone option the way Nick is wearing it on my left-hand side. The Tech Air race was only a zip-in option. This gives you both. You can use the yellow accent zippers to zip this into a corresponding Alpinestars jacket or race suit. There's then little extra pieces of Velcro, which Velcro into those corresponding outfits, or you can wear it as a standalone airbag system underneath your existing jacket that will work with this. Now keep in mind, if you are wearing this in a non-Alpinestars jacket, you need to make sure you have stretch and a little bit of extra room built in to handle the expansion of the airbag chamber. So let's start off with sizing. Nick on my left-hand side, meet him. This is his first time modeling in one of our videos. Nick stands at 5'9", weighs in at 180 pounds, has a 40-inch chest, and he's wearing this in a size medium. Now, what I'll say is Nick is on the very top end of a medium, just in between a medium and a large. Same thing when I measure my chest at 44 inches. I am just north of the XL, but not quite, at the tail end of the 2XL. I find myself, and so does Nick, if you're right between two sizes, go ahead and size down. The only note here on sizing is it is very snug around the biceps. So if you are someone that spends a lot of time in the gym, Nick and I are not those kind of people, you will probably feel it a little bit tight and restrictive as it works its way around the bicep. The other note here is that because the sizing is extra small to 2XL, if you are a larger rider, you might have some problems getting this to fit, because even when I was wearing it in the XL with a 44-inch chest, it was definitely tight. There's only one size bigger up there. And the same thing with the extra small. There's not technically a women's version for this. So extra small is as small as it goes. If you are a very petite rider, it might be too big for you. So would love to see Alpinestars, as you iterate on this, maybe just expand the size range a little bit. So as we alluded to, the biggest update with the 7X, and Nick, I'm just gonna have you go ahead and face straight backwards for a second for me. I know I trained you to face the sideways and stick the riding position. But the biggest update, the biggest change on here is you're getting dual canisters. So really, this is what we're seeing carried over from the off-road technology. It's got a CE level 1 passive back protector built in, but as we pop this open, you're gonna notice that as we pull this chamber off, there are two different cartridges underneath here. One note, when this ships to you, the battery will be unplugged. You do have to plug the battery in before it'll work. It will not ship with the battery plugged. We also recommend that as you're moving this around, as you're taking it to the track or from the track, you unplug the battery. And I'll get to that in 1 second. I'm just gonna set this aside. I didn't want to throw it because that's an expensive piece of plastic. So the battery is this little red, yellow, and black cable here. That needs to be plugged in before you can use it. And you'll see there's dual cartridges. One will go off if you activate it, if you crash, and then you still have a second cartridge. You can then pull both cartridges off and replace them both. Alpinestars does recommend after the 4th deployment, you send it back to have the bag replaced. Now, what I will say is that they have changed this a little bit in the fact that it is up to you. If you examine the bag and the bag has been deployed underneath a race suit and you feel that the bag has no damage to it, you can continue to use it. However, that is not what Alpinestars recommends, but it will no longer lock you out of the system. So you can continue to use it at your own risk after the 4th deployment. Nick, let's go ahead and spin forward for me again. Just taking a look at how this activates. Let's start here with the 2 zippers. So again, the yellow accent zippers are if you want to use this and actually zip it into a corresponding Alpinestars jacket. Nick, go ahead and unzip for me and you will see the activation on the inside. So you can see the light, the green light is on. This activates just by closing it. There's a magnet in here, and as you close that, it will activate the jacket. There is also a charging port, so you can charge it. Roughly 1 hour of charge will get you about 7 to 8 hours of use. 4 hours of charge will get you north of 20 hours of use. So about 24 hours of use with a full charge. Now, here's a note. Unlike some of the other systems from Alpinestars, as long as this is connected, as long as that little magnet and Velcro is connected, that is going to stay active. So just keep that in mind when you are transporting it. That's why we were talking earlier about like if you're going to fly with it or if you're going to throw it in the back of your van and ride to a track day, just for good measure, go ahead and unplug the battery. Only nitpick here is that it would have been great if there was a switch in the back to turn it on and off because the battery plug-in is very small, and if you have big fingers, it is very hard to get on and off. So maybe in the next iteration, there's just a switch in the back to turn it on and off for transportation. The other thing to note here is you can go ahead and zip up for me. When you're doing this, you have 2 different modes. There is a road mode and a race mode. Same thing that we're seeing with a lot of Alpinestars technology. It is only activated through the app. So you need to have the corresponding app downloaded to your phone to switch between race and road. If you are going to a track day, set it into race mode. That is anything under than roughly, I think it's like 37 miles an hour, it will not go off. So if you're riding into the pits, it will not go off. If you're, accidentally just tipping over, it will not go off. But anything over 37 miles an hour, it will deploy. There's also some different algorithms in there from a lean angle perspective. The one note here, for all you canyon carvers out there, you riders that are aggressively, cutting a corner on the street, it should be in street mode, not race mode. Street mode is what keeps you safe if you are at a stop sign and someone rear ends you, if you're doing any real low speed stuff, or if you get hit, maybe you're just kind of rolling through something and somebody hits you. You want to have this set up in street mode, even if you're an aggressive street rider. The only time you should have this activated in race mode is if you are at a track day. All right, my little PSA is over there. From a deployment standpoint, 50 to 60 milliseconds. Oh! So pretty much in the blink of an eye for a deployment. The one note here is that that is a little bit of a longer deployment than what we've seen from some of the other systems because of the amount of coverage that you're seeing with this. You are getting the collarbone protection. The bag does work down over the shoulders and the back of the bicep, and then all the way down. Nick, face the riding position and just kind of strike there for me. The bag comes over underneath your rib cage a little bit. You have elastication built in, and then turn backwards for me. The bag will work over the collarbone and all the way down. And this is really where it does set itself apart from the Tech 5 as well. You have real far down Cossacks protection on this. It's going to work its way down below the buttocks almost. So the one note here is that this is designed to be used in more of a full tuck riding position. If you are just out on the street, that is still where the Tech Air 5 is going to be more comfortable. If you're in more of an upright position, this is probably going to feel like it's pushing up and bunching up on you because of how far down the tailbone coverage is going on this. But you have that full airbag coverage. So again, I really see this as being something that a lot of track riders are going to potentially gravitate towards, even over something like the Tech Air 10, unless you absolutely want that hip coverage. Now, you might notice that the cover is back on. That's just movie magic. So I had pulled the cover off and then we snapped our fingers and look at that. The cover is back on with this. The one note is that we had to put the cover back on to get it to activate. So if you're running into any errors or problems where you're connecting the magnet, it's not turning on, we have found that the cover does have to be in place before this activates. You can go ahead and face forward, my friend. So really what you're looking at here is the newest iteration of Alpinestars airbag coverage. This is something that is replacing the Tech Air Race. If you're looking at this and you're thinking, well, if I'm wearing this for a track day, I sweat like a fiend. How do I clean it? You can unzip the brains of this, you can pull the airbag out, and you can wash just the mesh chassis on this. So it is something that is completely serviceable by the rider. That's what I would recommend too. If you do get into a crash and you deploy it, pull it out and double check and make sure that the bag doesn't have any damage to it. Even if it's only the second or the third deployment, just make sure you're inspecting that bag each time. And like I said, Alpinestars does recommend after the 4th deployment, you send it back and let them service it. However, it doesn't shut the whole thing down the way it used to. Same thing that we talked about with all the other Tech Air systems. You are having gyroscopes and accelerometers, but this one's going to get more. You're now getting 3 accelerometers and 1 gyroscope, whereas the Tech Air Race had 2 accelerometers and 1 gyroscope. The Tech Air 5 has 1 and 1. This is now getting 12 different access points of data feeding into that app, and you can use that app for a lot more than just switching between race and street. You can, do lap times, you can check lean angles. It's a pretty sophisticated app that Alpinestars has set up, and this is now going to have the highest amount of data collection points within the Tech Air line, especially when we're looking at something like, the race setup. So really a sophisticated piece of technology. I think there's gonna be a lot of people that are looking at this, especially those of you out there attending regular track days. I think the serviceability of this and being able to swap the cartridges out yourself is going to be something that a lot of riders are going to gravitate towards, and the cartridges are roughly around $160 per pair. So to read more about the Tech Air 7X in all of its nitty-gritty detail, you can click the info button on your desktop or mobile device. You can read other rider reviews, and you can see what other riders have to say. If you are not sure as to which airbag system is right for you, you can always reach out to one of our customer service reps, and they will make sure that you have the right airbag system for you and your ride. If you haven't already seen it, through, again, Movie Magic, we've already shown this deploy. We've shown exactly where the coverage is, so you can kind of get a sense of where this deploy is compared to some of the other Tech Air systems. If you're not sure and you want to do more research, we've got videos on each of the systems, and you can see each of the deployment to exactly where that coverage is and is not provided. So it's really great to see everything that Alpinestars is doing in the world of algorithm-based airbags. They are definitely the leader as far as I'm concerned, and there's plenty of options out there for you to choose from, and we have plenty of support on the customer service side to help make sure you find the right option for you. I want to thank you for joining Nick in his modeling debut and myself as we take a look at the Alpinestars Tech Air 7X airbag. I'm Spurge. Enjoy the ride.